welcome to the Trader's Crib Sunday School. This miraculous Sunday, March 17th, we are here and we are ready to chart as I have, mid-month kind of leave some lines so we won't have to do too much work, but we can do a top-down analysis and we will do a top-down analysis from the weekly down to the 2 hour to 15 minute, looking for potential setups this week. But we won't be too eager because we should all remind ourselves that it's FOMC week this week. But before we get into that, and I remind you guys of all of that good stuff for trading this week, let's get our mindsets right this Sunday with, of course, Robert Greene. And if we switch to Robert Greene Daily, flip to Robert Greene Daily Laws, March 17th, it is titled, "These Powers Can't Come Cheaply." To create a meaningful work of art or to make a discovery or invention requires great discipline, self-control, and emotional stability. It requires mastering the forms of your field. Drugs and madness only destroy such powers. Do not fall for the romantic myths and cliches that abound the culture about creativity, offering us the excuse that such powers can come cheaply. When you look at the exponentially creative work of masters, you must not ignore the years of practice, the endless routines, the hours of doubt, and the tenacious overcoming of obstacles these people endured. The Daily Law states, creative energy is the fruit of the master's efforts and nothing else. Do not fall for the romantic myths. All right. And that is from Robert Greene's mastery book, as we are all striving to be master traders here and master these financial markets the best way that we can. And so that is where we will Jacinia, yes, the masters. Yes, yes. So that's where we are today. We're falling in line with mastery. All right. As far as fundamentals go, we'll take a peek and look at the week and what's to come. All right. So as you guys know, this week, Monday and Tuesday is a little quiet. We have no red folders here, March 18th and 19th. So that means we will not be meeting those 2 days this week. All right. For the morning day trading. All right. But on Wednesday, okay, we'll take a look at what the market's preparing for us together in the morning while we anticipate the afternoon, which we expect to be nothing, but we'll expect to be nothing more than just a press conference with the federal funds rate coming in March 20th. So with that, we'll just see what the market is going to do. Are we just going to keep going like up or keep falling down or just do like a liquidity grab? We'll see what setups are there by the time Wednesday comes around. That will help us better get a feel of which way this day will pull the market on that day. And then we will end the week Thursday and Friday with unemployment claims and Papa Powell speaking at 9 a.m. Friday morning, which is going to be amazing to watch the market respond due to deliver opening remarks at Fed Listens event in DC. All right. So we'll see what that does. And of course, you guys know if we can take a peek at it together and see what comes out of his mouth, we will do that on the call. So this is what, the end of the month is going to look like for us. All right. I do a quick just glance of headlines over the weekend. We don't care about them as much. It's usually just some, CNBC writers need to keep their jobs, so they just write things about things and post things, and I'll just leave it at that. I'll just kind of give you guys a glance, and you guys, of course, can do it on your own and take time to look into what is the latest news trending. That they just want, again, to distract our attention. If our clock's ticking for Apple as faces obliteration auto market, okay, yay, great. So we care more about the headlines as we enter into the week and what happens. But right now, We are just focused on what's to come as far as Forex factor and how we can prepare that for that. All right. So I'll go to a blank chart here. Yes, June contract is where we are now. Officially, all should be trading. We are now in June. So as I do a weekly top-down analysis, right? We look at a blank chart from the weekly, starting with the S&P 500 futures, and we look at what happened last week. We did a little stutter, just kind of fell a bit, but not too much from the whole week perspective, right? This candle here is not entirely large. From last week. So it is another doji, but it is not a new high. It is not a new high. So that does not mean that price will necessarily reverse right now. That doesn't mean like a complete reversal, like we're gonna be trending down for a while. We could have another candle that can come up and restart making new highs again. And we've seen that on like 2 hours and things like that, smaller time frames of how these patterns can go. So we want to pay attention to that. We recognize it's a small doji. We recognize that if it were to come down, again, from the weekly perspective, our first little area of consolidation is right here at the 50.98 to 50.78 area, right? And so if we're looking at that area, we would assume price may come down and bounce, but we would need price to really give us a larger candle that's going to break and close below this level. That could potentially be an indicator that price will continue down to clear up the liquidity left within these smaller fair value gaps on the weekly chart. All right. So if it were to come down and sweep up all the liquidity, of course, its stronger area of consolidation or support or order block, larger magnet, is going to be down here at the 4,800 area range. And if price were to do that, I hope we enjoy the ride down, and we hope nobody misses out on all of that put action there. But if so, we will be looking for a potential stronger turnaround or bounce or to come back up from this level here. All right. So this one would be a little bit of a stronger support than this one at the 50.98. So 50.98 is a little weak. 48 area is a little stronger. All right. And that's from the weekly perspective. Okay. All right. So if we were to chart, we would just, mark these fair value gaps as we come down from each time frame. And we'll go from there. So I'll just mark these two, keep it simple for weekly. Like this one's so tiny, so it's just a tiny weekly one, right? For labeling purposes. We've been staring at this one for a while. So tiny weekly fair value gap. And then we can mark the opening of the lower one, right? Same process every week, y'all. Like seriously, like clockwork. From there, because the high is up here and I have it, we can of course mark it before I come down, just the very top there, okay? And then we come down to the daily and we see how we have this nice little trading range between this tiny weekly and the top here. And we are going to probably bounce, maybe pull through. I'm trying to get in the feel of what's going on here in this price action. Decided to stay out of the market a little bit last week because it's just, this is going nowhere. Like if you count the past 4 candles, this is really going nowhere fast. You can make a little bit of money, but it wasn't like a great profitable week, like a breakout would be. So I'm wondering if we will develop enough of a pattern of candles here to fill out this fair value gap down on the daily. So this daily fair value gap close is at 50.08, right? And I'm just like, what are we going to do? Whoop. dash. So if we close there, and of course, just for the sake of current price not being there yet to see how it comes back in here, this will be the opening to that same fair value gap. So it's more for visual purposes. When you come down to a smaller time frame on ES, right? So we kind of got this going on. I don't really care to mark anything else at the top. I'll drop down to the 2 hour from here and see what else I can find. So from here, now that we're at the 2 hour and we mark those fair value gaps, we see how price just really chopped up and down between here. Towards the end of the week, it didn't have any great liquidity grab, so it stalled a lot. It came eventually down, but it was very, very quick and short-lived. And we did leave, though, some kids and some fair value gap daycare up here between 52.30 and 52.48. So that's a 2 hour fair value gap. And I will call it a resistance fair value gap. I guess that'll be the best way to say it, not to keep like confusion. So for my researchers, just to clear up the air, my researchers, as you research fair value gaps, you will come across terms like bullish fair value gap and bearish fair value gap, and the bullish fair value gap being these ones down here in the green, and the bearish ones being up here. The reason why I want to change the terminology just a bit, because when we're talking about a bullish fair value gap, we're not talking about in a way that I'm saying price is going to turn around, which it will. I'm speaking from a perspective of how to use the bullish fair value gap as a way to make money as it comes through it, right? So because of that, I like support fair value gap and resistance fair value gap, because as it comes up through here, then of course it will turn around at resistance as well. But you're not so focused on like, oh, because it said bullish, it's supposed to go up. As soon as it hit the fair value gap, it's like, but please remember the word gap is in there. Okay. So price likes to come through it. But in this case, we have the 2 hour fair resistance fair value gap from 52.26 to 52.47 kind of range. All right. And we can label that as such as well. And 2 hour fair value gap open. Right. So I love that this formed, last week. So this is great. This is giving me something to potentially trade, because towards the end of last week, I told you guys it was kind of like leave the market alone. Don't try to do too much, because there's just not great signals here. So we have some better signals, right? So we can expect price to eventually come back up here. Now, when is always the tricky part. So because we will have to come through this order block to the fair value gap on the other side, we needed to address the first fair value gap here. So there's another 2 hour fair value gap opening at 52.01. And of course, price will revisit there to tap it to see if it will want to come through it or how it wants to leave kids in it. So for my eager beavers, if we measure right now, if we were expecting price to just retrace back up to here, that's about $18 to snag as it retraces up to the fair value gap before coming back down. Of course, it can come through and stay coming all the way up and around. I like the rejection here. I like this pin bar. I don't like the next two candles after the pin bar, because it's just a little, or the hammer if you want to say, because it's just a little wonky. So when 6 o'clock comes, I would try to give it at least 6:15, 6:30, and get you another little some data, at least two 15-minute candles, to help you know that price is really trying to come up. We'll come down to 15-minute and look at it right now. So see how the 15-minute look. Now the 15-minute does have this fair value wick and the fair value gap on upside, so we can expect it to want to come back up this way. But remember, I told you guys be careful with 15 minutes, because what happened back here? Remember, I told you guys be careful if we're going to try to take this fair value gap, because look at what happened. Right? I knew there was a lot of down pressure. You could just kind of feel it. saying it had just broke down. So it was kind of hard to come all the way through here. But there was probably something on a 3 minute that said it wasn't going to be able to push further up. And so we came kind of halfway through, and then we beat it up a little bit. And once you got a few beats in it, and it wasn't really coming up, hopefully you would let that trade go without it being too, bad in your favor. Eventually it did come up a little higher, but it did ultimately drop down and says not ready just yet for that. Again, when you have confluences on multiple time frames, it makes it easier for that fair value gap to be filled like right now, I would say, if you're trying to get it done. But it needs to show on the 15-minute and on the 2-hour and potentially even on the daily, all right, for you to get the momentum you need for it to get through there now. So right now, looking at this 15-minute, we know that it may come through here. As you can see, my 2-hour fair value gap open to close or open to the next. How did I got that? Because there's just little close right here. They're so close. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it like that. So as it comes through here, we have 2 fair value gaps right on top of each other. So that's usually a good sign that price will probably come up to at least clear this 15-minute one at 52.16. And that will be, if I mark that as a 15-minute one, right? Let's see. We'll do 15-minute fair value gap close there. And I zoom back out to the 2-hour just to take a peek. It's coming right in the middle of that order block and that long candle, bacon candle. So we know, if it leaves a wick, it's probably gonna come back. That whole thing, especially from the 2-hour, my whole methodology on the wicks as our signals to when it's gonna finish a long candle. So all of that is kind of in your favor to show that at least this first one will go, right? This first one could go, and we'll see how it beats up further in here for the second one, saying that technically if we zoom in really, really close, there's 2 wicks in this fair value gap here. So usually when it leaves it twice, sometimes it could take a little bit more time to come back. And just be careful. Of course, if you see the strong bullish candlestick chart pattern coming in your favor, then you could probably trust it to come all the way through. So that's where we are there. So I will be a little, me personally, I like to wait till like 8 p.m. to get in my overnight trades. If I'm gonna do it, it just gives me enough candlesticks. Usually things bounce around enough to where you get in about the same level. Just give it enough data to be sure that that's the trade is going for and it's actually doing it, because it can like leave it completely alone and just keep wanting to come down if it wanted to. I don't see much room to come down. I've been studying all these fair value gaps at the bottom of how it wants to balance. It really needs to pick up the steam and break this bottom all the way down here. So I'm on a 2-hour. This 2-hour wick that's also kind of in alignment with all of this chop back here, which is right before the breakout. I need 51.23. Dag nabbit. Which, as you can see, will be in that fair value gap coming back into, as I zoom out here, we see the daily open fair value gap to the daily close. That will be probably our signal now. If we can get past 51.23, we could probably finish out the daily fair value gap at 50.81. All right. And revisit this lovely large W looking pattern that broke up and then come back down. So I'm trading not so much. If I do a quick scalp, that's all I'm doing, and I'm really staying out, because as we play on top of this daily fair value gap, it's not a lot of room to run, and it just kind of gives you a little bit of anxiety. like that's how I see it. So of course this 2-hour one looks great, but just don't jump in it too early. That's the only thing. And I can't really control y'all doing that. Y'all gotta, I even still jump in early. And at that point, you just have to figure out what's your plan if you do jump in early. Are you, are you going to hedge against it if it goes down a certain way, if it's only going sideways or anything? You just have to have every little detail of your plan thought out, because you can be wrong sometimes and it's okay. Just know your go-tos to fix it. I think that's bigger than anything. Instead of trying to be right all the time, because You're human. We're human. It ain't gonna happen. All right. So from there, let's move SPY. We can put them side by side and see my other candlestick chart. I did not mean to turn on that bib. So if we do a side by side view and put both weekly SPY and ES next to each other to figure out what SPY is doing, we see how SPY is doing a lot of what ES has done, right? And we have this small little fair value gap down here, and that fair value gap can most likely be taken out. Of course, it's right on top of that liquidity. I mean, not liquidity, but like block consolidation is what I'm trying to say. This consolidation area, which of course will pull price back just enough, and we could continue to go up, or we can start our greater reversal pattern. It just depends. So I'm like, again, for SPY, I'm keeping a very tight eye on 503 level. And if we really can't break past that, I'm not going to be looking to really hold some puts. Of course, I could write it down to 503. It's not a bad ride. But, past that, no, thank you. No, thank you. Until I get the signal to me, pal ain't about to say nothing. We'll see. We'll just let me not put my foot in my mouth. Let me stop putting my mouth. So I'm gonna be patient and we'll just wait to see what happens, because the charts will start to draw the future for us if we just give it time and let us know what's happening. So I just need the cues. As far as what patterns are we kind of looking for? We can be looking for any immediate like engulfings or bearish Haramnis or dark cloud covers if it starts to chop, or a significant tweezer, because within it coming down, it can do another bearish pattern and then break out. So these are all the little cues we want to be looking for on the daily. And as price forms itself a direction, hopefully. Now, we do recognize that as I drop down to the daily, we see that weekly, of course, we know this is all-time high. I don't think I have to say that. But maybe I do. You never know. So let me do this Globex gap with purple from the daily. All right. So from here, we see that our weekly 503 level is coming right on top of like a gap opening. So again, this is another reason why I am watching this level, because if we don't come clear this gap, then I don't care to play a lot of puts with SPY. SPY kiss it. As far as I'm concerned, we could just keep going back up. So we know SPY likes the gap a lot because of what happens with futures. We see the gap. Of course, we're like, oh, it has a gap and it wants to take it. I would love for futures to retrace. I think if it retraces down to its weekly larger level of support, that would help SPY clear this gap. All right. So I'll leave that there as like the overall consensus of how you guys want to set up your mindset for this week. Yay. All right. I don't know why stop. Okay. Come back over here. All right. Next, where's the chat? Okay, here we are. We can go through the watch list. We can recover Dow and NASDAQ as well. So I can do that first. And then you guys can load up the chat with what you want to look at as far as charting goes. And then we'll do like a little bit of Forex review on my Forex position that is just looking great. So YM, okay, the Dow futures weekly perspective. Here we are. All right, this is what the weekly looks like. It's very, very choppy, very sideways, flaggish, lookish. Almost looks like it's trying to draw a head and shoulders, to be honest with you. Like, here's your shoulder, here's your head, and I can still see another shoulder. Plus, if we look on the weekly, we have a little kid left in the fair value gap from the weekly, and that weekly fair value gap is not too far out the distance as far as I'm concerned. And price could definitely get pulled back there if we don't like what comes out of Powell's mouth. Or we can like what comes out of Powell's mouth, and we're just like, we're going to bring the market down anyway because there's liquidity down here that we need to grab before we can make a new high. That's a perspective too. So I love that this wick is here because it does let me know that we could have some more potential downward pull. Let me mark the top of that, and before I zoom in, excuse me, the green line. And right there. So bouncing around one of those descending scallops. Remember, guys, the homework I told you guys. And then, of course, yes, we have kids and kids with chaperones, but this is still liquidity because it's not all the way through. That price come back down to. So it's really ugly. I don't like the way the Dow looks at all. But hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. So just take it in strides, you guys. Same thing for the NASDAQ, all right? There's that weekly fair value gap close perspective. It's kind of turning around. It hit the fair value gap daycare twice from the weekly, leaving kids in it. So this to me looks like it definitely needs to come back and at least touch the top of this once. If I put the line at the top of that, boom, come down to the daily. As you can see, we're still in alignment with one of those scallop descending patterns, right? Okay. So keep that in mind. It may be one of those just ugly, like you don't really you should hold a put, but you don't want to hold a put because of how choppy it's coming around. But it is coming down and around. It's like coming around and down. So just work with your psychology. Show yourself some grace. If it is a bumpy ride. Hold on one second, guys. Let me close the door. All right. So, NASDAQ. All right. From here, of course, you guys know Apple. I'll start with the fan favorites, but anything else you guys want to look at, we can definitely look at. Just let me know. And I'll start with Apple and make my way down from there. Down and around, whichever way you guys want to go. You know. I'm flexible. So weekly top-down analysis is mid-month for Apple, which God, every time I look at you, I would just get upset. So every time, I promise you, I don't like you right now. So of course, Kat, I got you, Esther. So hold on one moment. Okay, never mind. Thought I was about to be bombarded by children. Okay, I'm good. So it happens. All right. A lot of Apple to me still looks like this big old M there's a W within the M. It's crazy looking. But overall it's coming down. We really needed to break this bottom level before I can say, Geronimo, we're falling. There is quite a bit of liquidity down here at the very bottom. Apple don't want that. Like, that's like, really? But if Apple wants at least the handle from the old cup and handle that's down here, if you kind of look at this as a cup and handle, right? Okay, if we come down there to that pattern, that order block, 154. If we do break, we probably can have a nice little rundown that way since there's not much. I mean, yes, the candles are a little choppy, but overall their momentum is pretty strong to go up. So we'll see how it may want to dance around in this area and come down more. But again, after 168 break, I don't get 168 break. Nope, not doing it. Okay. We have some gaps up here, weekly gaps at the top side of Apple that are worth noting. Should have made it purple. Well, no, what I want to do is I want to make the close red and I want to make the opening of it purple. Where it starts from the weekly. All right. And we'll see how price wants to move to fill its gaps. Now, it felt like a lot of last week felt like it was trying to come back up. It just looks so sorry. that I have yet to push the button. That's just my personal bias. So overall, I would like to play it up as long as I can see some more support being created here. I would love to see support in a way that's like true support, not some order block that's just gonna break out like a flag to the downside. Okay. I'm I'm thinking like, like a really good strong, like cup and handle, like it's a cradle, something, heavy, like like it's really trying to come back up. I would love that. But time will tell. Apple right now playing games with my emotions. I don't like the way it looks. So, hmm. And then we have Caterpillar. You know what, Esther? There was a few moments last week that I looked at Cat and I was like, she should just play a cat and said fuck SOXL.
Seriously. In fact, I did play cat. I made a little money, which was great. And then, and it was funny because I had a sim trade just filled by itself, but I stayed in this trade too long when cat like did its bouncing, banging its head against the wall. But look at that beautiful move on Friday. That was
I
just, holy
know.
crap.
I
I
was
missed
like,
it
but
too.
she over here
Yeah.
sweating SOXL. She could have just been a cat, made her money, been
Oh,
done.
yeah, I should have stayed in the call I was in and made a lot more money than I did. So SOXL is in the doghouse. I'm not even talking about them. I'm good.
I
Yeah,
get
but I
it.
think that so I had drawn a Fibonacci on Caterpillar on the daily
Okay.
from, let's see, I might have done this wrong. So let me see if I look at it. Well, no, I actually have two fibs. That's my problem. Of course. So I had drawn a fib actually on this downward retracement, which this little movement here. Yeah. So from this red candle in the middle of this little high previously. No, the other way, a little
So
further
hold
back.
on. Let
No,
me
like
zoom.
1, 2, 3, 4 candles
So
behind.
the
Yeah,
bottom is where? Here
the
or back?
I'm trying to figure out how I drew this. Hold on, 'cause the numbers made me happy,
Look
but
at your dotted dashed line that's going from point A to point B,
yeah, so I'm trying to figure. Yeah,
or the one
never mind. Never mind.
zero.
Just ignore me. Never mind. I don't even know what I'm looking. Forget it. It's
All
just
right.
none of it makes sense. I drew it wrong, so don't. No, forget it.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. So if we want to draw it, how would you draw it
This is
now? If you
oh, so
reset
this is.
yourself,
I think that right. Thank you. I think this is to me is like it's an all-time high for Caterpillar, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah,
right?
I would draw it from the candle at let's see, March, be end of February. So down here, there's two. Keep going up. Oh, there you go. From that green candle, from the base of that green candle up
Okay.
to I would say actually not the highs, but to this red wick.
The red
No, no, further back. See, no, yeah, up to yeah,
here.
there. Yes. Yeah, because then
Got
we can
it.
see how much it retraced and we can see
Uh-huh.
what it needed to bounce to then go further.
Okay.
And yeah, and I think that was my intention because I feel like 360 was my next, yeah, was the next target.
Okay.
See?
I don't have a problem with this fib at all. So sometimes it be like that. Like I have done that. Okay, just full disclaimer, I have done that where it's like you draw it and then you go back to look at it a couple of days,
Yeah. I'm
and
like,
it's
what am
like
I looking
you
at?
don't touch your chart like that, but you're like you moved because this don't make
Thank you.
sense. Like it
Right.
doesn't like you
Exactly.
somehow move the trading spirits of the I don't know.
Well, I like to think the universe is telling us we need to look at it again, right? We need to
Yeah, you do.
get
You
a new,
need
fresh
to
perspective. Right. Yeah.
exactly. You need to come clear your charts, look at a new perspective every week. I
Hmm.
advise that even if things line up the same, you're like, oh, it's the same lines. It's like you started over to just give yourself a reset. So I like this because I think we had spoke about this level before. Yeah, March 7th.
Hmm.
So how we were drawing it and it came back up and hit it, and it looks really healthy for it to continue. I mean, this is like a perfect, even from the daily, it's a great W consolidation and then breakout to continue up. I mean, the FU candle really was that's what I want to call it because it's like trying to psych you out. Like
Yeah,
I just
totally. Well, but again, if you think about it, look at the fib we just drew. So it's actually in line with this conversation of like, yeah, I can get here, but I'm not going to stay here. So, but
Right.
know that there are buyers up here, right? There are sellers up there too, but obviously the seller buyers are in control at the moment. And Friday was a great day for Caterpillar. So
Yeah.
I feel it could be volatile, but especially if we're competing with the winds of, Powell.
I even think the
So
whole week, man, you could have probably played cat because you was
don't
fighting
I am so
XOL.
scared to look up what that option is worth now because I will just cry based on what I sold it for. So I don't want to know. Now I have to look it up. You know that, right?
Cat looks great. I think this is a great trade to go up. And I would say
Yeah.
stay
Okay.
bullish with cat. And
Okay.
then SOXL
Don't even, I'm not even
just
talking about it.
not
Mm-mm.
well, it's in a pullback. So
I got
let's
out. I took my
reset
loss. I was like, I'm
SOXL.
done. Yeah.
So yeah, well, I knew it did what it's supposed to do. Now when it hit it, I don't think anybody's expecting that deep of a pullback. Hey, but it has its by its own right to make whatever doji it wants. So that's what screwed us first part, and then it did it, and I was like, okay. So because you were, and then you did one of those, like if you look at it right, it went all the way through this fair value gap and wicked through it, like it did like the exit bullet wound type move, which you hate those because then you know it's gonna come back with vengeance to the other side because it don't want to stay over there. Right. So we wanted did that. I said, okay, I think I should leave it alone and wait till it pulls back because it'll probably pull back at least to this first little area of consolidation right here before trying to come back up if it were to put like a body in it, which I think because it's teeny weight, let's put a line at the top here. Okay, let's put a line at the top there. Uh let's see. If we put the line at the top of that wick, 57.14, nope, come down. All right, so that would have been the second signal, right? So when you come in and it ran up here and it did it, and you recognize that, okay, on the weekly, it did not like the wick didn't go beyond the previous candle, right? Remember I told you it has to be, it's like if you charted the breakout from the candle prior and you put that line right at the candle prior. So if I move this line up, right, and this is the breakout, I want my wick to be above this line into the remaining of the candle for it to continue up. So when we come here, we missed it. We did not do the signal move. So we'll probably hang out down here a while. And that's my sentiment on it. And I left Axel Excel alone because it is a cradle, but it's doing the next like consolidation before it can come back up or do anything else. So it's just time to give it a break. It missed the mark up here. So if you took profit when it came up, boom, yay. I got mine and got the hell out of Dodge and I haven't been back in since because it missed the mark. It didn't go over my line, like it didn't wick it. And when it didn't wick over, I was like, screw you. You should leave you alone because that's the signals. And if we could just play the signals like that, then you guys will always be able to manage and get out accordingly if it doesn't hit it, or manage your either take a small loss or hurry up and take whatever profits left, because I had to take profit order right there when it didn't make it. I hurry up and took whatever I could get, before, because I was watching it on the 2 hours. So if I come down in the 2 hour and the fifth, especially the 15 minute, and I go back up to that area, I had yeah, this drop, like I was watching it. So because it was coming, and it wasn't quite coming. And soon as about this candle came in, I said, boo, you, boo, boo, you. I'm done. So I just left it alone. And I thought to do rider with puts, but I couldn't get a clear picture on how far down it wanted to come because if you look at the 2 hour, it was very choppy. It had some gaps, and I didn't know how the gaps were going to hold up against it. So I just waited, and clearly it came for all the gaps and did a crazy looking gap tooth head and shoulder looking pattern. And now I'm trying to figure out if this larger order block down here on the 2 hour is gonna chop up price enough to bring it back up, or if we enter the lower gap here. So I am at 39. which if I come out to the daily, it's a gap. It's gaps on gaps. It's just there's too many gaps in here for my personal preference. And SOXL moves too slow, but burns your account while it moves slow at the same time. It's a very interesting ticker to trade. So, it's like, so it'll come once it's done chopping, I'll find the next run up and I'll let you guys know if I see it. But right now, we'll just leave it alone. Right. If you like to consider day trading, exactly. Exactly. All right. Um, what else can we look at? Of course, we have Netflix weekly still trying to come up. So this is that same level that I marked for you guys before. And it's still in play as it's fighting the order block and still trying to get up there. It may I don't know how much more of a pullback it wants. I really don't. Like I see a potential for it to have more pullback, to be honest with you. And it's not quite done yet before it wants to come back to the top. That it can come down a bit more from the weekly. Yep. So like that, and then the daily. Look at that. And so from the daily, then when I see Amara Butsu down like that, I usually go down and trade down. That's usually a pretty good signal of who's in control of the market next. The next candle will most likely be a red one. So please keep in mind that this is a yeah, this is a very small wick on this side. There's no wick on the other side. Okay, so it can bounce, it could do a few things, but I pay attention to that. And of course, it has a daily gap down here. Of course, it's been beaten up. But I don't think it's ready for the breakout to the up. That's all I'm saying from this perspective. It's green, right? And that's actually a gap. And then the gap close would be down here. 587. So I would leave Netflix alone. A lot of these tickers, you guys recall from last week, I was leaving them alone. They were chopping up and chopping up rightfully so to prepare for PAL and whatever breaker or at least long candle. We get at least one good long candle per week, right? So what at least like one decent one that gave us like a good run. So what day y'all think we're gonna get it on? Tuesday? Wednesday is I feel like Tuesday run, Wednesday indecision, Thursday small run, Friday blah. Or man, because he's speaking again. Man with a potential run, depending on what he say. What type of vibe he leaves us in. And yes, we could look at HD. But Lily looked like it's trying to continue up. Lily look good from the weekly. So it's bouncing off its fair value gap. It looks like it's creating a water block. And it's a rub. I don't care what we doing. It's just gonna do what it want to do. All the people take draws, but it is choppy from the daily. So please be mindful. Just looking at the candlesticks. I ain't got to put much lines in because the fair value gaps that I would chart are right in alignment with the gaps. So keep in mind that it is a little choppy right now. So but the breakouts can come by surprise. So pay attention to fundamentals with Lily. All right, HD. Oh yeah, that's right. I disowned HD from my watch list for a minute. It made me mad. Okay. It made me mad. I'm still mad. Look, I knew you, I knew
Still mad
you was
too.
gonna do this. I knew that's
Uh-huh.
why I got the hell out of Dodge. I knew.
I'm still
Oh,
mad too. Yeah. But look
because
at it. It's weird looking, isn't it? That's why I wanted to ask what you thought,
well,
because it's just
that's what
looks
I
like it
just
wants to
knew it
come
would
for
be
the
up.
high again, though.
It's coming back up. It's coming back up, but it's doing
Shit.
because of how this candle is sitting here, and it's a weird. Okay, it's not really weird. It's just what it does. Okay, you have like a large inverted hammer type of pattern, and just this one candle within a gap, so it kind of falls in line with a large hammer because of the tail on the end, but a banded baby because it has a gap on both sides, but it's not a baby because it's too big. So it's weird. So I wanted it to come up to finish the candle because
Mhm.
that's what I thought it wanted to do. But I knew for enough experience of trading HD that you don't trust that same little wick thing with HD.
Right.
You manage it tightly because
Right.
HD like to do dumb stuff. And so when
Dumb
HD
stuff.
made this red candle here, started or when it was somewhere back here. Once I realized it wasn't trying to go for it, I got out and left it alone because
Mhm.
I saw how for one there was the little fair value gap right here. So I was like, you would probably want to come back and do this a little bit. As soon as this week finished and it didn't do it and it left the fair value gap, okay, bet you're gonna come back and take out this little tiny fair value gap,
Mhm.
which you
Mhm.
did. Because you also have this, it's um
It's an order block, it
support.
looks
It's
like.
a really
Yeah, support.
supportive block, but it
Yeah.
also is holding its own trend. So
Yeah.
that's what let me know that it's not gonna fall like crazy, but it's not running up either.
Okay. Right.
So you would need to buy me. I could have held this if I would have bought like maybe 3 months,
Oh yeah.
but
Do
I
you have
wasn't
stock in
buying 3 months.
Dramamine? Yeah, no. No.
Yeah, I wasn't holding it. Yeah, I just that's the only way this was gonna work. And because I do believe it's still coming up, it's just not gonna be like a clean run up,
No.
like a
Right. And I wonder if all of the Fed speak is going to have a more dramatic effect, because of the housing market and mortgage rates and right. Like, I mean, and Home Depot is a direct beneficiary. And they just announced on Friday that they're opening these 4 huge distribution centers around the country that specifically cater to contractors, right? Because Home Depot is where the contractors go to just buy freaking everything in one place. And those distribution centers are going to be like 50,000 square feet. It's like 5 store Home Depots put together, each one. So it's a big investment, which is why I think they fell on Friday. But I'm curious to find out with this huge focus on housing, right? Is this the time where Home Depot is going to try and make that run and come back up and to that 387? I agree with you. Home Depot hates gaps. So I don't
correct. It's gotta
anticipate it
finish
closing
it.
it. But yeah, but just get up to that. Just get up to that. And then we'll have a conversation about, how much your head hurts once you hit it again.
Right, exactly. So what I'm looking at now is here was the entry to the weekly fair value gap. It's pretty much in alignment with, this physical gap, right? That will close at
Mhm.
365-ish, the physical close. 364 if you did the physical close. We have a strong based on the way that looks on the daily. I'm not too convinced that I think it could close it, but that's it. Like I don't think it will go
Mhm.
further than that. So
Right.
based on the way the candles look below it. So from there, then I just need the right turnaround, damn it. And I will take you from 69 to 87 just fine.
Yeah, seriously.
It just need to turn around.
I think it could happen too. I mean, look at that little red doji that just
Hmm.
tapped that and was like, oh hell no. So
And
I feel like it would be worth even getting in at like 371, yeah, see, look at that. It's gonna form a W. Look at it. That's what it's doing right now. Right now. That's why I wanted to ask your opinion. Because I was making sure I wasn't
that's what
seeing
you were
things.
seeing. This is what you were seeing.
Yeah. Because I was like, it
Yeah.
wants it. And Home Depot's like, it's just like, I'm gonna flirt with you and I'm just gonna keep flirting with you. And I'm gonna take my all time out.
Right,
So
right. So
so
I
I don't know, it
think
might be
that
a
we
fun ride.
could potentially position now for the upsides and just pushing down. Because then if it push
Yeah,
further down, you'll be in the middle for when
right.
it come back up. That's one way to think about it. Because you
It's
don't know
true.
how far it can do like another doji and it just wicks. You know what I'm saying? Like you know how I left this one right
Yeah.
here. What if it
Yeah,
does
that's what I'm
another
saying.
one, but
That right.
it's a little deeper. Like you
Hmm.
have to be mindful of that. Even if it's making a W, it may not make each leg equal, right?
Right.
So if this next leg comes down a little further because the market's just trying to scare people out.
Or because it's gonna tap that fair value gap, right? Like the doji did, like the wick did, but the wick went into it. So even if it were just to tap the top of that fair value gap and be like, 370, right? Like I'm gonna be okay there, and then I'll bounce out. It may not come all the way down to 369.
Right.
So
It may not come 369, but if it did, don't be surprised. 'Cause
oh,
that's the weekly line. And then this one that
okay,
I'm
right.
putting in right now will be Let me dash it. That would be the daily because I'm acknowledging the bottom of that candle right here,
Okay. Okay.
coming down, right, to really
Hmm.
enter a gap. So this is the weekly and this is the daily. So I would expect somewhere in between here would be the next
Yeah.
bounce,
Yeah.
right?
I'm waiting. I think that's worth waiting for. But I think we'd have to probably buy 2 months because Home Depot does some stupid shit.
I agree with you.
You
It
know,
was
I
just,
just I think it's less painful. You know what I mean? It's a little more money on the table, but at the same time, the state is not as high, and you're kind of like I have a little time for Home Depot to work its emotional shit out. Like, let's just do this, right? Get your head in
I
the
agree
game.
with
So
I
it's kind
agree
of
with
like
you.
halftime speech, right?
I
Crazy.
agree. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, literally halftime speech is half a W. All right, we're halfway in.
Right? Yeah. Come on now.
You got to turn the other way. Just do the W.
Well, and I would be content getting out at the wick in this wick of the last attempt, right? Right, yeah.
Oh, up here.
382. I don't have to go all the way to 387. Like, yeah, 380, 380 to 382 in
Well,
that
just
range. You
to
could,
read the form, the neckline, right? So I
yeah,
get what you're
exactly.
saying. This first neckline, and then
Yeah.
the next one. I get it. That's all
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need. Like once you
Yeah.
really start to see the patterns, y'all, that's all y'all need. Y'all don't need to be trading breakouts. Just it looked like a W
Right.
coming. Okay, let me catch the rest of the W.
Right.
Fine, fine. I love that. That's still fine.
Right. And it's more than we had originally had this conversation at the beginning of summer when we were talking about $3 move, right? Like, so looking for something where the delta is not necessarily 50 cents, maybe it's 30 cents, and then being able to position in, especially if you can buy more than one contract.
Yeah,
So just becomes an interesting conversation of how to look at it when the whole rest of the market has a lot of indecision.
yeah. I agree.
Cool.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Any other tickers you guys want from the rest of the crib today? I'll finish my watch list out and then we could, of course, it's almost 6 o'clock. I feel like my top of the month call is always longer and more in depth than the mid-month Sunday school chart because we already like, oh yeah, we know what this month is kind of up to. All right, all right. Um, I just feel like that's been the flow. Now, for excitement, of course, we can look at Adobe. Adobe. Now I told y'all that it could come because when I saw this long candle from a couple weeks ago come down, I was like, you may want this order block. I wasn't sure about it though. And I didn't, if I would have zoomed out and looked at it, I probably wouldn't have said what I said about earnings being able to take it up a little bit for the liquidity at the top if I would have zoomed back out. Sometimes I forget to come back out to the weekly this far, but it was clear as day from this perspective. That price will more likely come this down than up. So it was very clear. It was very clear. It's even like right here, and it was just very clear. So because this is where even though price was running up in here like this, it would have let you know that it didn't have a lot of strength to come through here from the weekly. To be careful. The daily even told you to be careful because I told y'all to be careful from daily. So price was coming up a bit, was staggering through here, but man, earnings came. It did not finish it all the way up the top. And earnings came in on the daily perspective and dropped it down to the ground, all the way to the ground. And so now we're in this little fair order block, excuse me, down here. I Let's see where this wick is teetering. Is it in it or just bounced off of it? It looked like it's here's an entry to the fair value gap on the daily. It looks like it on the other side. It's on the other side. You can zoom in. It's on the other side. Okay, so Adobe probably gonna continue to fall. So there, it's possible. It's possible. It could. I do think you may have some shenanigans with this gap, right? And I'm gonna call it exactly that, shenanigans with the gap. But yes, alert child in the fair value gap on the daily. So it was just gonna come down in here, finish this out, and see if it wants to come further. I'm on the weekly now. I came back out to the weekly. To these weekly gaps, like there's physical gaps on the weekly here with Adobe, right? The 452 is a physical gap close from the weekly. And so it coming all the way through to test that gap, right? If I made this line purple to the body of the candle, not the fair value gap, I'm coming all the way through here with this one 463. Man, I mean, now that earnings are over, I mean, I have no problem eating off Adobe. Scrunching up the weekly, just kind of give an overall view of how price is going. So I actually, uh, let's see what happens here at this order block. Since we just cleared it, usually there's a bounce right after you clear through order block, and that would explain the gap too. So okay, yeah, it's gonna pop back up and do something, but it could get enough strength to where it can continue and really come down into this area. I ain't gonna lie. This will be coming down and matching the neckline. This is why we want to zoom out, right? So price coming up the way it did, coming up, it is coming back down, testing the neckline from both perspectives. Even if we were invert the chart, I'm about to invert the chart, so watch carefully. 3, 2, 1, flip. Okay. It is retesting the neckline. Okay. Coming through the order blocks, retesting the neckline. And then once it chops up and does that, it may continue through. Depending on the fundamentals of Adobe, it will do that. Revert the scale back to normal. Okay. So that should let you know that you have a little put action here for Adobe. If you didn't catch all this drop, it was upcoming earnings. So I kind of guided you guys to stay away from it because it's quite expensive. But now that earnings is over, we may be able to, just scalp some money off. It don't need much to be a happy camper with Adobe. Don't need much at all. When it's not, crazy expensive and inflated. All right. So there's Adobe for you guys. And of course, you could chart the top side and mark the close of that gap at the top. But there's really not much else to do there since this is a lonely candle for now. And until you get more data, I wouldn't really mark it. I think you'll just be confusing yourself. Marking the wick to see where that enters a fair value gap. Okay, fine. But anything else in between here, like the top of this candle, I would just leave it alone for now. All right, let's look at NVIDIA. That is all the way up in $800 a share. This is crazy. So NVIDIA did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It did 8. I think this was about even. Let me count that. I want to count this as like an 8, 9, but I can't because it's technically below. So it would restart. But this weekly resistance, like from the top, from the 974, that wick rejection, I would say, I would assume that at some point NVIDIA would like to make some red candle on the weekly. Maybe one day. So maybe this week, saying that it has the liquidity right down here at the bottom, this physical gap as well at 824 to just come down in there and just take that out a little bit. The stronger area of support, we do have a lot of kids from the weekly fair value gap perspective. That is this candle wick. It pierced through this one, but I think if I'm not mistaken, it's in this lower one right here. So, and we see that this is not strong support, right? This is not strong areas of support. So NVIDIA weekly fair value gap open with kids. We'll put the kids. All right. I want to label that like that. The kids are down here. No, so I want to do it like this. The kids are, so it's like that. All right. Yeah. Okay. So that's not a strong area of support either right here. The consolidation candles is where it's the strongest and the biggest, largest area of consolidation we have is for NVIDIA to come all the way back down to $500. Boy, if NVIDIA comes back to $500 and not everybody in this room buys at least one share, I'm coming for y'all. Because that'll be a hell of a pullback. But of course, the people who've been in it the whole time don't care for it to come back that far down. But that's just what the chart says. Like, that's what I'm pointing out. All right. The chart says that the support is down here at $500. So I don't want y'all, oh my God, why is the chart falling? Oh, what happened? Oh, I don't hear all that. Y'all know it was here. It makes sense. Okay. Any one of these fair value gaps before obviously can hold price up. It does not have to come all the way that far All right. I'm expecting it to not come back down that far. We have tons of little gaps in here and fair value gaps, the whole price up, 824 being the first one. So if we don't break, 824 and then it have to come down to this next fair value gap, 769. These are all weekly ones too. 747. And we come to the daily and we look at how that looks. 824 is closing a daily gap as well. All right. So that means we have to first enter the daily gap, which is here at 840. So we would have to do that first before we could come any further. It has all the right to chop up and do a flag pattern and continue back up. If we break 824, then we'll come down into these next two weekly fair value gap levels, which is an order block open and close. And as you can see, it's in alignment with some consolidation and consolidation, a breakout, and then more consolidation. So we would really like this 769, 745. I think this whole area is going to be kind of tough to get through. But with the right news and the right shock and the right, depending on what the big boys are doing at the top, it can definitely send it through. What I could potentially see here on a daily is another head and shoulders situation forming. So this is a shoulder, this is the head, and this will be another shoulder. If that is the case, price will come down and take out the physical gap, physical slash fair value gap, right? Down to the 680, which is coming really close into that area where I had marked the weekly fair value gap opening with kids. So we will need it to form a true like head and shoulders bear pattern. And that will give us that confluence that's enough strength to come down and potentially take this gap. All right. But until then, we're chilling. All right. AMD looking kind of similar, but a little worse. Not as much run up. I take my time with AMD when I'm trying to trade it against what Nvidia is doing because it does its own thing. Nvidia can be running AMD is like, I'm not doing that today. I'm not keeping up with you. You going up there, you know, AMD is like the out of shape kid, and then Nvidia is like the triathlete. The triathlete. And AMD like, I'm coming, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna finish, right? That's how I feel like AMD is. So that's what we got, y'all. So before I go back to the futures, I will take a look at USD JPY since it is 606 and these markets have come back online. So last week I had found this beautiful Forex trade, and I have a lot of lines still on the chart because I'm still in it. But I knew price was coming for this bacon candle, and so I took it. All the candlestick patterns were there, so here I am. And we did wick above. I know we're gonna pull back some after waking up this high. So I expect a pullback, but I'm still going to hold it because I thoroughly believe we're not done yet. So we'll come back down. I am curious to see just how far back the pullback will be this week with USD JPY, and if it's gonna do like a W, because one time it's done that before, and I was like, dang, it really like pulled all the way back, and it came up to finally finish the candle, but it did a full W. So I'll watch it to see how it wants to do that. Here's a 2-hour perspective. It came and it barely finished out this fair value gap, which it's done to me before. I told you guys this, that it has sometimes comes really, really close through, but doesn't hit the same way that ES and the futures hits my level. It comes back for it. Yes, it does, but not before clearing out these kids in the fair value gap down here, right? From the 2-hour perspective. So it could come back down here first before finishing me out at the top. That's just the way USD JPY moves. As you guys can see, when I entered the trade, I entered it back here and it did some massive pullbacks, right? Before coming up. So it not want to say massive like that, but it tends to come back. Like it really comes back. And it's nice, but it was still forming the cradle. So I was good to go. And I think I'm still good to go. So I want to see just how much of a pullback it'll do. This is the lowest I think it'll go. So I can move some lines up, right? That's the close. I can change this line to open with kids instead with strikes in it. I can leave that same label actually. I can get rid of, make this one green. And this will be a 2-hour fair value gap close, which I think is about to do, like right now. But yeah, this trade is yummy. Yummy, 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 yummy. It was great. All right. Yep. And that was the daily fair value gap close. As you see at 149, so it came and closed that. So we know after it hits a daily level, you'll probably pull back far, right? So that's that. So it's up to you how, like, you could either I'm gonna hold it because I was in down here, but you could have took profit and then come back in, short it, and then come back in up here. There's so many different ways to play it. But same thing with Forex. This trade is beautiful. And of course, there's still kids up here on the 2-hour fair value gap, which is why I'm holding. It's just gonna take its time. We'll probably have some deep pullbacks, but I think we'll get back up here. But I am really looking to get out at this 149 150 area and not take it up to this higher 150 area. What will I say 149.20, because pips matter over here in Forex. So I want to keep it here, and I'll wait to see if I could take it further up. Because I do think that this level of chop will take USD JPY a little bit to push through. Okay. All right, so now looking back at the futures, I'll do full screen futures because we don't have the markets open right now for SPY. So why are you doing that? What just happened? Why is my delay delayed? What the data delayed? Like what? I'll fix that in a second. It's probably something on the back end. But anyway, all right, here we go. So price coming down, bouncing around is delayed. So you guys probably have maybe a little more data than me. I have to figure out what happened in settings or payment renewal, whatever happened on my end. But we have what I'm trying to say. When I told you guys you want to wait the first like 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, more 30 minutes, we'll go 30 minutes of this market being open before deciding if we can come up and test the fair value gap, which would be right at, about a nice $20 move just to come back up and touch this fair value gap on a 2-hour. So if you get the nice curve, you can ride that up and finish riding it up. There's enough money to be made there. Just give it a little bit of time. That's all I ask. And then from there, you can figure out what your next best move is. But I think right now that is the next best move. If price is going to come back up for you guys to scalp something more than $10, that would be it. After that, wait to see where wicks land and how the pattern forms before getting back in. You may want to exercise a little bit of patience and wait till tomorrow. Because I actually believe that price can come up to take out the fair value gap before the end of tonight, like not take it out, but come to it before the end of the night. And then that just because it wicks in there, it's not a good idea to hold it through the night. If you're thinking to come all the way up, I wouldn't do that. Because if it can wick through, that means it can leave it and come back down. So I think it can do that tonight. And then I will pause, wait till morning when the bell ring and see what futures is doing. We don't have any red folders, so that's going to help you figure out with all that data from overnight, the London market, all that, the bell ringing, all that, and figure out if there's another great move. All right. Of course, I will be in Telegram on and off as much as I can, helping you guys out before tomorrow and Tuesday. But you guys got this. I believe in you guys. And managing your trades, we have it. I don't have anything else to chart with you guys this evening. If there's anything other tickers tonight that you guys want to go over, we can do them before I let you guys go. So if you guys are good with that, and of course practice for those who are still practicing, practice as futures trade and sim. But if you guys are good and no other questions, you guys have an amazing evening. I will see you guys Tuesday night, not Wednesday, Tuesday night for Learn Trading Psychology, where we're going to get deep into our emotions. Okay, ladies, you guys have a fabulous one, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.